On the outskirts of town, nestled amid rolling fields and whispering trees, there lived a couple whose love for each other had withstood the test of time. Kelvin and Maria had been married for 12 years. Their relationship was a beacon of warmth and devotion, a source of envy for neighbors who admired their unwavering bond. Yet, as years passed, their once perfect life felt incomplete, shadowed by the absence of children, a silence that grew louder with every passing season. Maria often sat on the porch in the evenings, gazing at the horizon as if searching for answers in the fading sunlight. Her longing for a child was no secret, and while Kelvin assured her that their love was enough, Maria couldn't silence the ache in her heart. One such evening, as twilight painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, Maria turned to her husband, her voice trembling with emotion. "Darling," she began hesitantly, "don't you think it's time you get married to another woman? Perhaps she could give you the children I've failed to give." Kelvin looked at her, stunned. His deep brown eyes filled with disbelief. "Cutie," he said, taking her hands in his, "why are you saying such a thing? You know how much I love you. I married you for you, not for children. My love for you outweighs all the wealth of this world." He pulled her into an embrace, holding her as if his love alone could shield her from her despair. Though his words comforted her, Maria couldn't shake the sadness that clung to her like a shadow. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, yet their home remained silent, void of the laughter they yearned to hear. Kelvin, true to his promise, stayed devoted, showering Maria with affection and support. But Maria's sorrow grew heavier with time, and she often found solace in solitude, crying quietly where Kelvin wouldn't see. One fateful afternoon, as Kelvin walked through the bustling marketplace, he spotted a familiar face. Adolphus, an old high school friend, was seated in a sleek black car that screamed wealth. The reunion was joyous, filled with hearty laughs and nostalgic stories. Adolphus exuded confidence and success, his life seemingly untouched by struggle. They exchanged numbers, promising to reconnect, and Kelvin returned home feeling both elated and contemplative. Over the next few weeks, Kelvin and Adolphus rekindled their friendship. The more time Kelvin spent with Adolphus, the more he became captivated by his friend's extravagant lifestyle. Adolphus's wealth was staggering: luxury cars, designer clothes, and an air of influence that commanded respect. Kelvin began to feel a twinge of envy, a gnawing dissatisfaction with his own modest life. One evening, during a gathering at a lavish club, Kelvin leaned over to Adolphus. "You're so wealthy and influential," he said, his voice filled with admiration. "Show me the way." Adolphus smirked, a cigarette balanced between his fingers. "I'll teach you," he said, exhaling a thick smoke. "But you've got to stay calm and be ready to step out of your comfort zone." Adolphus began introducing Kelvin to his circle of affluent, morally dubious friends. These men and women were well-dressed, charismatic, and extremely good-looking. At one such gathering, Kelvin met Amanda, a strikingly beautiful woman whose sultry charm was impossible to ignore. Amanda's alluring nature and bold confidence drew Kelvin in, and before long, their casual conversations turned into sensual meetings. Amanda's presence in Kelvin's life became a negative barrier between him and Maria. He began coming home late, often drunk or reeking of cigarette smoke. The caring husband Maria had known seemed to vanish overnight, replaced by a cold, distant man. Amanda encouraged Kelvin's newfound recklessness, whispering venomous doubts into his ear. "Don't you think Maria is unfaithful?" Amanda asked one evening, her lips curling into a sly smile. Kelvin hesitated before replying, "I don't think I know she is." But deep down, he knew Maria's character was beyond reproach. Her unwavering loyalty and love were indisputable, Yet he allowed Amanda's words to fester, justifying his neglect and mistreatment. Maria endured the changes in Kelvin with quiet resilience. She spent her days in solitude, her tears staining the pillow she clung to for comfort. One night, she mustered the courage to confront him. "Kelvin," she said softly, her voice breaking, "I know I've failed to give you children, but please don't stop loving me. Don't let our love die." Kelvin's response was sharp and cruel. "Love you?" he sneered. "You're nothing but a deadwood. You've brought nothing but shame to my life." From that moment on, Kelvin's treatment of Maria grew worse. He mocked her, ignored her, and on occasion, raised his hand against her. Her attempts to reason with him were met with anger, fueled by the toxic influence of Adolphus and Amanda. "Your wife is nothing but a liability," Adolphus said one day, his tone sharp. "If she's holding you back, maybe it's time to cut her loose." One night, Kelvin came home late, drunk and annoyed. He pounded on the door, waking Maria from a restless sleep. She hurried to let him in, her hands trembling. "I'm sorry, my dear," she said. "I didn't hear you come home." "You liar," Kelvin roared. "You left me outside my own house." Before Maria could respond, he lashed out, striking her repeatedly. She stumbled outside, her screams piercing the quiet night. Neighbors rushed out of their homes, their lanterns illuminating the tragic scene. Maria collapsed to the ground, her cries fading into silence. Kelvin froze, the haze of alcohol lifting as he realized what he had done. The woman he had once loved above all else now lay lifeless before him. Panic set in, but before he could flee, the neighbors seized him. The mob, fueled by anger and grief, exacted swift justice. By morning, Kelvin too was dead. When the authorities arrived, they discovered a tragic twist: Maria had been 3 months pregnant. The child they had prayed for was finally within her, a fragile hope extinguished by a moment of violence. The house that had once been a sanctuary of love and dreams now stood silent, a haunting reminder of lives lost to greed, betrayal, and despair. Kelvin and Maria's story became a cautionary tale in the town, a chilling testament to the destructive power of choices and the fragility of love. Here are 3 moral lessons from this story. 1. The destructive power of greed and envy. Kelvin's envy of Adolphus's wealth and success led him to make reckless decisions that destroyed his marriage and ultimately his life. The story teaches that allowing envy to guide one's actions can have catastrophic consequences. 2. The fragility of love and loyalty. Maria's unwavering love for Kelvin, despite their struggles, contrasts sharply with Kelvin's betrayal and cruelty. The story emphasizes that love must be nurtured and respected, and without mutual care and commitment, even the strongest relationships can break. 3. The consequences of betrayal and abuse. Kelvin's emotional and physical abuse of Maria, fueled by outside influences, resulted in tragedy for both of them. This lesson highlights the profound impact of betrayal and abuse, reminding us that our actions towards others have lasting, often irreversible effects. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Sax House Comedy TV. Love you guys. Have an awesome day.